Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome, Energetic Life Now, friends and family and fans from around the world. Welcome back to another great edition of the Energetic Life Now show. Today, we are broadcasting on the Spanglish World and her networks, which, of course, we know is on Zingo TV, channels 250 and 251. And if for some reason you haven't downloaded the Zingo TV app, come on, get on there, download that app. It is free. And give us a like and comment on there. We really appreciate that. Zingo TV, friends, is also available on your Google Chromecast and on Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and on all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Hey, listen, friends and fam, it is great to have you here. Whether you're here for the first time or you're catching the replay, we want to send a warm welcome to you and your family wherever you are around the world. Listen, you guys, I am so stoked to have my wonderful friend and colleague, Corinne, with us today. Corinne and I have met through the Neuroencoding Institute, which through Joseph McClendon and team there at the Institute. And I'm just so excited to have you with us today, Corinne. Would you give us a little bit of an intro and a little bit of background? Tell us about your coaching practice and all the fun coming to us all today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, Eric. I'm equally as excited to be here. A little bit about me. I live in Wisconsin with my husband. We have 3 grown children who live on opposite ends of the United States. 2 in LA and 1 in New York City. I am an emotional wellness and transformation life coach. My focus primarily working with women, working with mamas, especially helping them navigate their own emotional well-being and learning things like forgiveness and self-love, so that they can, it's a trickle-down effect. When we help a mama be happy, everybody's happy. Isn't that kind of the saying?
Yes,
happy.
it is.
Everybody's happy. And it stands the science test.
Yeah.
Mama's happy, everybody's happy. So that's really my primary focus. Using a multimodal approach, everything from our neuroencoding tools to something called RAMP, which is a subconscious technique. I'm John Maxwell trained. I have lots of tools in my toolbox to help people get where they want to go.
Absolutely amazing. See that, friends and fam? Now you know why she's on the show, right? Because we got to bring in an expert for this. And I couldn't think of anybody more highly qualified than you to be here with us today to share your expertise with us. Listen, I gotta share something with you, if I may, to kind of kick this off. There's been something that's been bugging me on my mind. That I've been hearing this, and you know how you hear things and you don't really like whatever, it just passes, and then all of a sudden you hear it again and you hear it again, you hear it again, and each time it gives you that little something's not feeling right when that. Well, let me tell you what I'm talking about here. Ready? This has been bugging the bejeebers out of me, and it's this. And I can't remember where I heard it, and it doesn't matter at this point. It's talking about emotions and feelings and moods within the family unit, right? And so for you guys that know me, you know I am a teen parent family success coach. And I also deal with some of the younger ones as well. And so what came up in this conversation was talking about thoughts and feelings and moods in terms of size. We have big thoughts and little thoughts, and big emotions and little emotions, and big moods and little moods. And I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, how in the world do you define a big thought or a big mood or a big feeling? Like, and to me, it just started to push that the irk button, if you will. And I thought, well, if a kid is having an issue or I'm having an issue, what defines the size of it? The intensity? Is it the duration? Is it from where it's coming from past trauma? Like, how do we define that? And then if we define it with a child or with a mom, like we just said, hey, if mom is not happy and nobody happy in that house, right? We got to keep the mamas happy, right? What if mom's having a bad day?
Mhm.
What if I, in my silliness, walk through the door and I go, oh, that's just a little thing, mom, wife,
Mhm.
spouse, partner, right? Oh, I'm in a doghouse for the
Mhm.
rest of the night, right? I mean, in reality, what if we did the same thing to a child and we dismissed that thought and feeling or that mood? And what are, some of the cliche things we say, oh, get over it. You'll be okay. When I was your age, rub some dirt in it. You'll be fine.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and it began to kind of think about this for me this week. And I'm like, there's gotta be some advice out there. And so that's, with having you, Corinne, on here today, I'm like, you know what? We gotta talk about this. We gotta talk about this. Let's start and unpack this, Corinne, because I saw you winching at the things I was saying. So I knew like let's kick this off.
Well, first of all, I think there's so much as to, because you even hear it with trauma, big T trauma, little t trauma. I,
Yeah.
emotions and feelings, who gets to decide what's
Yes.
big or what's little, like you said? And so when we're working with children, especially, when we placate their emotions
Hmm.
and tell them, oh, that doesn't matter, don't feel that way, and especially from the time they're born till they're 8 years old, and all that stuff is getting stored into their subconscious.
Yeah.
Now they start to think that the way they feel doesn't matter, or,
Hmm. Hmm.
rather than teaching them how to express that feeling. um,
Hmm.
so in children, especially in those formative years, they're not able to consciously say, "Oh, this is what it is," and it's up to us as their guiding adults to help them navigate. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I really like that. And I was digging around today on the internet, and this great thing called Google, and I pulled up this graphic and talking about feelings. Feelings are our thoughts about the emotions we experience
Mhm.
and can sometimes be distorted or inaccurate. So which would be our thoughts, or that physical feeling or an
Mhm.
emotional connection of that magnitude. So when we're talking about, yeah, that big feelings and little feelings coming from the thoughts about the emotions that we're having, I think you said it just beautifully a second ago, where you're like, what if I can't express what that is? What if I don't know myself? What
Mhm.
if this thought is coming from an emotion from something that's way back in that memory, of
Mhm.
which all of a sudden came forward, emotions that are coming up like this, and bam, here comes this reaction or this outburst or this emotional response to something maybe that I didn't even really connect to.
We see it with young people.
Hmm.
Um, they'll come into the school, and they could already, on a scale from 0 to 10, they could be already emotionally elevated at an 8. Something
Sure.
happened at home,
Sure.
and they come into a classroom, and one little thing sets them off, and they don't even necessarily know what's going on.
Mhm.
Um, when I worked for the high school, my room was an area where kids could come, whatever the feelings were that they were having, they would come in and have those feelings. And the kids knew they were entitled to their feelings. I'm not going to tell them how to feel.
Sure.
We're going to talk about how to handle those feelings. So we're going to talk about, processing it, in what does that look like? Does it look like punching the wall, or,
Mm,
tipping the desk over, or throwing something at the teacher? No, there are going to be consequences for those actions,
yeah.
right? getting up and leaving the room and coming to my room, that's different, right? Then that was like they knew, I'll go here. I'm gonna sit in the back room and kind of let it out.
Sure.
And then they knew they were gonna come out and we were gonna talk about it. And we
Yeah.
were gonna get to, what's beneath that? What's beneath that? Because we can recognize that there's an emotion here. Now that emotion triggered some sort of feeling, right? That emotion being that visceral thing that's happening within my body.
Mm,
And then it triggers a feeling, right? So we have a feeling about something,
right.
but we often don't really know why.
Hmm.
Like, oh, so okay, so here I am. I'm just angry. I'm angry at the world. Um, and when we see kids who deal with trauma in their homes, and I'm talking about emotional trauma here, so it
Sure.
might be repeated verbal abuse, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And there is no escape. So I heard the analogy about the bear in the cave, and this made so much sense to me because in emotion, our senses take in that.
Yeah.
So our
Hmm.
senses, whether it's through touch or our eyes or taste, you know, we're looking around and our senses are taking in what is dangerous.
Yeah. Hmm.
So if I'm going to go step out of the cave in that prehistoric, right, all my senses are on alert in case the bear is, standing outside of the cave.
Sure.
Well, we don't really have to deal with the bear in the cave anymore.
Hmm.
But those senses, are still there. That primitive part of the brain, the amygdala,
Yeah. Yeah.
still has emotional responses.
Hmm.
I live in a home that's unsafe. The bear lives in the cave,
Correct.
right? The bear is always there.
Yeah.
And then I'm my nervous system is on hyper alert. I might physically, on the emotional level, I might always be at an 8.
Hmm.
I lack an awareness that I'm there.
Sure.
So it really takes a lot to look at um, what's coming into it. I
Hmm.
never learned those things. I had a bear in the cave
Yeah.
growing up. I never knew. I didn't sleep, right?
Yeah.
Emotion, so when we talk about emotions and feelings and uh,
Yeah.
my nervous system was always dysregulated.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
up until just a handful of years ago where I started to recognize. And, in my early years of mothering, I didn't know it wasn't normal, quote unquote, to yell when you're angry, to throw things, to launch
Right.
things, be
Hmm.
like, I'm just pissed. I'm just going to throw this at you. Um, but
Yeah.
I learned those things
Sure. Sure.
and learned to find appropriate ways, right? When the kids would come into the classroom, what are we going to do about this? Let's let's do some breath work.
Hmm.
There.
Hmm.
Let's do a little meditative exercise. Let's
Yeah.
color, read, sit quietly,
Yeah.
interrupt the pattern of what was happening prior to that. And then let's talk about it. We're going to work on how do we emotionally regulate? How do we respond appropriately versus react to that feeling?
Hmm. Oh, that was great, and I hope friends and family that you guys picked up on some of those tools and techniques, and highly recommend. Not only do you that you do these for yourself, but that you can teach those in your family to use these as well, and your friends, because to be in a state of dysregulation is no fun for yourself or anyone else around you.
Mhm.
And so thank you so much for sharing that. Um, I wanted to bring up the definition, if you will, that I have found on emotions is
Mhm.
that it's a result from, as you were saying, the external stimuli, meaning that bear,
Mhm.
um, and the sensations caused by the release of chemicals from the brain. So it's the belief, it's the intense, it's the reaction, if you will,
Mhm.
and then having that really then play into the moods that we're feeling, right? Because if we're unsure of what we're going to get from ourselves or another individual in that space and time, that moment, because we don't know what mood they're in, the moods is how we feel over time, which are influenced by many factors, though they're usually less intense than emotions, which are less intense, longer lasting, and there's a lot of influences that go into that. So I want to go back to the story there you were saying about, the mom, right? Let's play out that scenario. So mom's getting up in the morning, and of course this is where the life buttons of of a parent get pushed, okay?
Mhm.
And so your child is doing this or that, or saying this or doing or not doing. Where are your shoes? I don't know. Get your backpack. Did you put it? Where is your lunch? I don't know. Right? The clear the statement. Why don't kids know anything? When you ask kids, oh, I don't know. So, for the love of Pete, parents around the world, if this is you, hit us in the comments. Put a like, put a heart, do something. Do your kids say this too? Because even my kids at 24, 21, and 18, I don't know, that still comes out. And I'm like, oh, sweet Jesus, take the wheel. Take the wheel, right? And so, honestly,
Mhm.
so okay, so seriousness, mom's in that state now of she is getting dysregulated because things aren't working out the way she would like
Mhm.
in the home, right? And so now you have the stimulus of what is happening: anger, frustration,
Mhm.
worry, fear, doubt, all of that going into how you come up against that response.
Mhm.
And that response is going to usually be ignited then, right? So
Absolutely.
now you have that stimulus and response that hit each other, you have this ignition of emotion that happens. Now this child goes to school, and the teacher's first connection or student's first connection is a kid in a bad mood.
Mhm.
Right? Do we all understand, friends and family, how this is all placating together? This is all multi-layered, starting with what we think determines what we feel, determines what we do, which determines the results that we have,
Mhm.
right? Corinne, give us a little bit more on that, if you will. How in the thinking and the feeling, how does that really come into being in the action to results? Because you touched on it a minute ago.
Right. If I have a thought that triggers a feeling of, let's say, anger,
Hmm.
what I might do next is explode. I might, you know, if I'm at home and it's we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go, right? And and then all of a sudden I'm yelling at my kids
Yeah, yeah.
that it's time to go, and now they're upset. So now what do I have? I might have little people on the floor crying because
Hmm.
they're like, mom yelling at me, and that's the result I get is now I am late
Yeah,
because the child's on the floor crying. If I would pause, right, interrupt that pattern, right, break that cycle.
hmm,
You know, I can feel it happening to me. I can feel that I'm getting angry. Just take a deep breath, right?
yeah,
Stand. I do this a lot. I put my hand on my heart and I just take a deep breath. Inhale, exhale, and just taking that pause starts to bring the heart rate down, bring the blood pressure down, and now I'm thinking more clearly
yeah.
because before I'm on override, like
Hmm.
somebody else is driving the car instead of me.
Oh, mm,
Now that I'm back in the seat, it's like, okay, get it together because as the adult in the house, I'm modeling. always.
Mhm.
So if I'm losing it, it makes sense that the kids are going to go to school and this is how they're going to react
Right.
when they start to feel angry or whatever that emotion is. What what we model at home, that's what we're going to get for results in
Mm.
the raising of our children. And um, I saw it. I can remember, Eric. I remember the moment it came back at me
Yeah.
in the awareness of holy crap.
Yeah.
That's a
Mhm.
mini me is what that is. And
Mhm.
um, you can think to yourself, well, they should know better. They shouldn't be doing that. You know, or you can take responsibility for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I've had to do that over the years and apologize to my kids for some of my poor behavior, and they get to see that, right? You
Right.
taking responsibility for your actions that got me the results and how it ended up. So
Yeah. 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 I love our friend Cindy Gould says, take the wheel and find the shoes, please.
yes, just do it. It is
Listen,
so
I mean, I don't know what it was like in your house, but you know what? Our middle son is 21,
Mhm.
and on his first day of kindergarten, he was so excited to wear the shoes that light up when you step. I forget what they're
Oh,
called.
yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
They were called light up shoes. That's what they were.
light up shoes, right? First day of kindergarten, he goes to school with these shoes on and he's purposely stomping to make the lights go on. He was so excited about them. We pick him up at the end of his first day of kindergarten. How was school today, son? Hey, it was great. Hey, where are your shoes? Oh, he lost his shoes the first day of school.
Mhm.
Great. We pick him up from school and we're going to get a new pair of shoes because the kid didn't have anything but flip flops really at that point because he's 5 and we live in Southern California, so
Right.
he's got flip flops and we're I'm like, seriously, it's the first day of school. For the love of Pete, you can't hang on to your shoes.
Mhm.
So I love that we're talking about some of this dysregulation and honestly, something that you said a minute ago really plays a big part of this, and that is the modeling,
Mhm.
right? When I am ensuring that I am regulating myself and what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, even if I'm starting to dysregulate, I want that awareness to kick in quickly, right? And for us at the Neuroencoding Institute, we use what the stop technique, and that's
Mhm.
one of our go-to things, in which I use multiple times a day, every day. I don't think there's a day that goes by where I don't use the stop technique.
Mhm.
Why? Because I'm human. And if
Absolutely.
I want to be that great model for my kids, like you were just saying, I go to that stop technique. You
Mhm.
know, say what that emotion is. Identify it. I am really feeling burdened right now. I'm stressed out. I feel anger. I feel this. Identifying that, right?
Mhm.
Take those deep breaths. Go into that cadence count. What
Mhm.
is that cadence count for you? Is it big breath in for 6, hold for 6, and
Mhm.
slowly out for 6? How many times can I do that until I start feeling calmer?
Right.
Right? Because what's happening is that blood, we're getting anxious, we're worried, we're doubt, we're fearful, and the blood's leaving the prefrontal cortex, going to the basal ganglia, like you said, into that emotional center. Now I can't think clearly because I
Mhm.
don't have enough blood oxygen in that part of my brain. So I want to calm down to get that blood oxygen level back up in the prefrontal cortex. Now the O for that stop is what's my outcome? What's my opportunity here? And if I can be aware and say teachable moment for my kid, that is a beautiful thing. Why? Because now my kid's going, I can't find my shoes. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, seriously? Okay, well, how about if we both do this together? Where do we think the shoes went off to?
Mhm.
Where do we think the shoes would be hiding from you this morning? right? And turn it into a game. And then my son would laugh and he'd go, well, I think my shoes are hiding under the bed. Oh, no way. That's such a great hiding spot. And then we went to the bed and we looked under, there's his shoes. But what? 30 seconds ago, where's your shoes? I don't know. Right? So now we've learned to stay in calm, to think clearly, to try to remember, and as you said, that pattern interrupt. To be calm and think about where that is. I can't do that if I'm in fight or flight.
Right.
So I want to stay in that place of calm and pattern interrupt. Think about maybe where it could be, not the fact that I'm about to lose my marbles right now. And then the P, we love this because that's the praise. And so I would say, great job, son. Bam, high five. Son, pat yourself on the back and say, I am amazing. I am magnificent. And he's like, yeah. Or we say, I'm a great rememberer. And pat yourself on the back. You're a great rememberer, son. You know, I don't even know if it's a word. I just maybe made it up there.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And so, you know, parents are, you know, that are on here, friends and family around the world. I hope that this is valuable for you guys to use this stop technique. Say what the emotion is, take a deep breath, think of your outcome and opportunity, and then praise. Make sure there's praise happening, because the praise is going to release the good chemicals, that dopamine release, to say, I did a good job. I want to do that again. If I can keep a clear head, that's going to help me make these better decisions again. And so now let's go back, Corinne, if we will, to that stimulus and response. Let's pull this apart, because we're doing a pattern interrupt. And what's in that middle?
The scotoma, a blank spot.
Yeah. That's the pause. And when we can pause and use that beautiful gift in that moment, i.e. me with my son saying, son, where do you think your shoes are hiding? We turned that stressful moment into a game of which he's going to engage in, because he's like, sweet, we're on treasure hunt. This is awesome, because I know that would work for him, right?
Sure.
And even for us as adults, I mean, seriously, right? We get into these spaces of dysregulation at the adult level. How would we use that stop technique to help us in this? I've got this meeting I need to get to later today. I do not care for this person on that team in my business. What am I going to do in that situation? Okay, here's your rest. Say what that emotion is. I really don't want to see this person. I don't like working with them. Why? They bug the crap out of me. I don't like it. I just, you know what? They're, you got that emotion right there. Okay, what's that T? Start taking some deep breaths. I've coached people on this. Okay, you are standing up from your desk and you're walking down the hall to that meeting. You better be deep breathing the whole way there. And breaking that thought pattern, because now you're concentrating on the breathing, not on what a schmuck this person is that you don't want to be in that meeting with them. Now, what's the outcome or opportunity here? We might create something. We might do great. We could solve a problem that we as a team need to solve. And then we'll be really glad. We'll praise ourselves afterward. So it doesn't matter your age or anything about that. You're in that position of which those emotions are coming up. Take that moment to go through the stop technique. Because otherwise, what's going to happen? I'm going to say, listen, Corinne, you're in a bad mood today. You've been in a bad mood all day. Just snap out of it. Don't you love it when people say that? Hey, Corinne, snap out of it. Just change it. And then you're like, oh, that's even going to send me into more emotion.
Especially if it's your partner that says that. Snap out of it. Well, if it was that easy.
Snap out of it. Yeah, there's no snapping out of it. I can pattern interrupt that. I can do some breathing. I can take a different approach, but there's no such thing as snapping out of it. Or, oh, you'll get over it. You know, you talk to what's that?
We don't want to minimize other people's feelings, because when we do that makes it worse. Right now they're going to
So then
angry or
Yeah. So now we're going back to let's clarify what big emotions are and little emotions are. If someone is telling me my emotion is tiny and get over it
Mhm.
and minimizing that, oh my word. They're not truly understanding my point of view and my perspective on that. And so I've got to really make sure that I call it the life remote. Push the pause button on your life remote. Here I am. Here's me. I am a remote control, right? I've got
Mhm.
all these buttons all over the place. I can push play, I can fast forward, I can rewind, and I can push the pause button, right? So if I
Mhm.
push the pause button, now I can stop and think about what it is that I want to do. What is the outcome and opportunity here? And I can go through that stop technique.
Mhm.
Yeah, Cindy says snapping out of it is like saying you're crazy or chill out. So true. Minimizing is no bueno. No, it is not. It is not. Right. So now we're gonna I'm gonna take this back into kids for a little bit,
Mhm.
if we will, right? And so now this kid has been in this situation of which mom is lost or dad is lost their cool. This kid has been in high stress to get in the car to get to school. And the whole way there, what's happening? Boom, 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 boom. There's chipping going on. I call it chipping, chipping in
Mhm.
the air, chirping, chipping in the air, right? And so this kid's getting belittled, berated all the way to school. If you'd spend less time playing video games, more focused on the important things in life, right? We've heard it all, right? And full disclosure, these are the things that I used to do because
Same.
once I knew better, Corinne, I did better.
Absolutely.
And
Mhm.
once I was trained and understood this, I did much, much better on that.
Yeah,
And so
same.
now it's changed that whole conversation and trajectory of conversation. Now this kid goes to school, they walk in, their friend says or does something, and boom, bam, something's going on.
Mhm.
There's a reaction of some sort in the classroom
Right.
to start the day. Now the teacher's going, seriously, this is how I'm going to start my day, dealing with an incident report that I've got to now write to send this kid to referral to the office. And now I gotta call the mom. I gotta call the other mom that the kid hit, and blah blah blah. And we got this whole big thing to start the day. That ripple effect from that moment in the home, friends, from when I, as the adult, chose not to keep my cool and get into that state of emotional reactivity changed the whole trajectory of many people.
Absolutely. The projection of the blame part of it too, right? Like, well, you couldn't find your shoes and right, because that's where the all the way to the school is, and then it's shaming, right? We're shaming our children
Yes.
for being children,
Yeah.
right?
That's such a
it's
profound statement.
e- what happens too is as their bodies grow, people start to look at them and treat them more like they're adults,
Yeah.
but their brains are still forming. And so we're it's the
It is.
prefrontal cortex doesn't fully develop until between 25 and 28 years old, but
Yeah.
at 18,
Yeah.
they're considered an adult
Yeah.
and fully grown and like, they're not gonna make mistakes, and they're
Yeah.
not gonna fail, and it that's just not true.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I'm a parent and I have 3
Mhm.
kids, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, the oldest one is gonna be 25 next year. Yes!" They're gonna all of a sudden, this magic switch is gonna happen on his 25th birthday, and all of a sudden it's gonna be, "Ooh," and the heavens are gonna open up, and there's gonna be doves flying out of his rear end because now all of a sudden he's this major magical adult. He's never gonna have any more problems. Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
right?
right. That's
Oh,
not
for
true. Our oldest is gonna be 33, and you know, we're human beings. As
yes,
human beings, we make mistakes, and our
yeah,
littles need to know it's okay.
it is okay. Yep, yep,
It's okay. otherwise we're setting them up for a whole host of other issues if they're not allowed to make mistakes as little.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? As my kids have gotten up in age and they learn to drive, and I was teaching them to drive and
Mhm.
whatnot, um, I can't say I was always the best role model behind the wheel for my kids. And so when you were saying before about apologizing, oh yeah, there's a time where I've done a lot of apologizing
Mm.
to my kids, and it got to the point where we flipped the script on it. And as I'm teaching them to drive, okay, what would Dad do here? You see this guy? Look at this guy. You see that person? What would Dad have done? Because I don't do it anymore. What would Dad have done? Dad would have waved at him with a particular finger. Dad would have
Mhm.
flashed the high beams. Dad would have sped up and gotten right on their bumper, beeped the horn, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and what's the correct thing to do?
Yes.
Well, it's to let them go. We don't know what's going on with them. We don't know why they're speeding like crazy person, blah, blah, blah. And thank you, Mel Robbins. And I know I've been saying this a lot lately, but Mel Robbins, listen, I love you. And I love that you have taught us in your Facebook groups there this whole concept about let them. And I've been spreading that message and teaching lots of my clients about this lately, about the let them's. We can't control them.
No.
So let them. Focus on what I can control, which is me, which is my thoughts and my feelings, my emotions, so that the actions that I do stay in alignment with what I want. And so, really staying aligned with what I want really helps me in that space, because now I am that model for them.
Absolutely.
And um, even last night in our family chat, there was a comment made that hurt one other person's feelings, and the response was made. And I said, I bet we could have made a better response there.
Mm.
Well, I was angry. And here's parents where you don't minimize that. And my response was, it's okay to be angry.
Absolutely.
What's not okay is to use the language here in which was used.
Mhm.
I fully support the fact that you were angry. There was nothing wrong with that there, but what is wrong is how your response. So let's change that response. And then of course in the chat, okay, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Great, that's awesome.
Mhm.
So that's what I love. That's what I love.
Right. We're not there to tell them what to feel,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? We're here
Yeah.
to mitigate, right?
Look, look
That.
at Cindy's comment here. The verbal vomit. What about the chaos on Sunday mornings before church? It's
Mm.
nuts. It's nuts. Then go to church and acting happy llama. No, isn't that the truth? Isn't that the
Mm.
truth? How many
Sure.
times in our family did we do that, right? And we're bam, 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 bam. We got all this tension, all this tension. I got the door, blah, 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 blah. And then we get there, big smile.
Yeah.
Really? Come on, man. Come on. The next comment, Cindy says, do you want to be right or you want to have peace? I'd
Mhm.
much rather have peace. I've learned in my life I don't have to be right. And most of the time, most of the time I'm not right. And that's okay. And it's great.
Mhm.
Is it worth slaughtering your child over shoes or hugging them and helping them figure it out? So that's a great point,
Mhm.
Cindy, because this is what I do as a teen parent family success coach is we begin to look at, I know you do this with the moms, Corinne, is the looking at the systems and processes. Think of it as I call it the iOS, your internal operating system, right? We've got iOS systems on our technology. We have
Mhm.
iOS systems in our supercomputer, in our brain. We also have iOS systems within our homes. What's our internal operating system within our home? If that system of operations is set up correctly, we have order to which things are being done. We have the ways to download new information of learning. We have ways to commit things to memory along the way. So then when my son loses his shoes and begins to rewire his brain to think of it as a game, I'm going to find my shoes, treasure hunt, right? Now it becomes that game.
Mhm.
And so I yell up the stairs, hey, are you ready? Can't find my shoes. What am I yelling? Treasure hunt. And then he's off on a treasure hunt. And that becomes the game for him.
Mm,
That
mm,
internal operating system is switching all the technology of what was and upgrading it to what it is and what it should be for our home and family.
absolutely. And I love that the iOS analogy, especially because young people are using so much more technology and they can understand that. And from a mom perspective, when I can regulate me, I can teach my the others those same
Right.
skills
Mhm.
in knowing, right, recognizing, what's really bothering me, right? Kind of the kick the dog syndrome. If I come home and I had a bad day at work, but then it spills over if I'm not intentional with my internal processing, if I don't take that time, to regulate myself again and leave all of that there, because now it's not fair to my family to come home and project all that onto them if I haven't taken that time to regulate me.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully said, right? I mean, I know I'm guilty of bringing home the stresses of work to the family,
Mhm.
right? I had a horrible day at work and then took it out on the family. That is on me
Sure.
because I, as the adult in the family, need to understand how to regulate. And if you don't know how to do that, friends and family, reach out to us. We would be more than happy to help walk you through and give you these tools and techniques that you can break those patterns of behavior and turn them around to where you are now getting the results that you want in your house based on what you're thinking and feeling. So you're walking in the door, not dragging that baggage, but you're walking in ready to give your love to your family that you haven't seen all day and be supportive and be connective and be present for them so that you are getting the results that you want, which is to have that wonderful, loving family environment. And that's my charge to you. If you need help, reach out to us. We
Mhm.
would be absolutely honored to help support you in any way, shape, or form.
And it's never too late,
No,
or you're
no,
never too old. I hear that sometimes, where people just get set in their ways,
yeah,
and it's not true.
that's right.
We can make change any time we make the decision to make the change.
That's right. That's right. It's never too late to make that change.
Mhm,
In 100% agree with you there.
mhm,
And this is why we're both coaching and doing what we're doing,
mhm.
is because to help others live their best life, to be the best versions of themselves that they can be, not only for themselves but for everyone else around them. Um,
I'll say break the cycle.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
came from that's how I would declare,
mhm,
I came from a long line of yellers.
yeah,
That was normal,
yeah,
and then I learned it wasn't normal.
yeah, yeah.
But so for me, I wanted to break that cycle,
Mhm, mhm.
be a better example, for our children, and now that they're grown, uh, model that as I'm going about the world.
Yeah,
Can I be kind? I have to pretend like there's nothing wrong. Like you said, we get to express our emotion. Your child in the text,
mhm,
they were angry. You get to be angry,
yep,
right? What we get to choose is, am I going to have a reaction, or am I going to have a response? A
mhm,
reaction is firing off that instant, you know, whatever it is, flipping,
yep, yep,
flipping whatever it is, and then a response comes from taking the pause,
mhm,
thinking about what's really bothering me here, and then responding.
yeah, absolutely. And then I was also thinking too, is as we're talking about coming back into the family environment, if you will,
Mhm.
how are we leaving the family environment? In the morning. to go to work or to go, drop the kids off. And so I think as we're thinking about coming and going in situations of life, to really understand where we are in those situations, what are the things that in our awareness radar, if you will, that might be those triggers, to think about them ahead of time, to understand about what it would mean to go into that meeting with that person I don't care for. What would it mean to go be in a school drop-off line with
Mhm.
this person from your school, this parent from school, of which you're like, oh my word, right? Or anywhere else it is that you come, are in contact with people that, or situations, places, right? Any of that would trigger that emotional response. To think about that ahead of time,
Mhm.
and prepare yourself as you're thinking about that and where those emotions are rising from. And you use the word, the PTSD. You used, anything else of which that would cause stressors in our lives to show up from past experiences, from past traumas that surface. Be thinking about that, and get yourself into that preparation ahead of time, of which, like we've said, today, is to kind of rewire that brain,
Mhm.
thinking about that outcome and that opportunity that might arise from you slowing down enough to pause and really, as you said, to make that right choice along the way, because it's not easy.
Right. And if you, let's say you do make a mistake, let's
Yep.
say it doesn't go how you planned, take a look at that. How did you want it to go?
Yeah.
And play that scenario out. So to retrain the brain,
Hmm.
this is really what happened. This is how I wanted it to go.
Yeah.
And redo it.
Oh.
And if an apology is necessary, make said apology. This is how I
Oh,
really wanted it to go. I really
that's
wanted it
tough.
to go this way.
Yeah, that's tough, isn't it?
It can be.
It
It,
can be.
uh,
Yeah.
it can be hard.
Hmm.
Eating a little crow, right?
Hey, that's right.
Hmm.
There are times when we have to do that. Why? Because the bigger picture is my internal peace. I'm not apologize. I even if I'm not apologizing to you, or there's forgiveness there, I'm doing it for my own inner peace,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And so if I'm in that space of which I need to set up boundaries now around that, systems and processes, go back to your internal operating system. What does that system look like for you? Setting up those boundaries of protection for your mind and your heart, in that, so that way when those emotions rise, I deal with them within that space. Okay.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Awesome. So tell us where our energetic life now friends and family can find you on
Um,
social media or your websites.
yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Corinne underscore Zuleger. On Facebook, Corinne Zuleger Life Coaching. On LinkedIn, just, Corinne Zuleger. Can find me pretty much anywhere. I'm Snapchat, Corinne Zuleger.
You're a snapper? Oh my gosh. I'm
And
I'm proud of you for that.
little videos, little teaching
Oh,
videos. Uh,
that's awesome. I'm gonna have to go check that out. I didn't know you were on Snapchat. I'm gonna get an account now.
yes,
Yeah. So,
Snapchat.
friends and family, you guys know how to find me, Energetic Life Now, and all social media. I am, except for Snapchat. I'm going to add that next. You guys can find me there, and also at energeticlifenow.com. Jump over there. I just want to thank you so much, Corinne, for being here today. What a great conversation! We have so many tips and tools to pass on to the listeners, and friends and family around the world. Again, you guys need support. You guys need some help in any way, shape, or form. Please reach out to us. We're here to serve you. Thanks again for
Thank
being
you.
here. This was phenomenal. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Check it out at spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you soon.